Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Fantasy 420, where today we are going to be doing a long video, but one that I am very excited about. We're going to be doing today a 2019 NFL way too early best ball practice draft video. These drafts are done on draft.com. As you can see up here, I've made an account and deposited some money, so this is a real draft. The goal of this draft is to practice these type of best ball drafts, also give and get advice from YouTube and Twitter. Been hearing a lot of positive feedback, and I would love to continue that. And if anybody has any opinion on any players or my team or my strategy, I would love to hear it. But also talk about a lot of the free agency movement that's been going on, how I feel about players, and this would be an easy video to condense that and do it all together. As you can see, I am pick number 8, and the draft has started with Ezekiel Elliott and Saquon Barkley, who I would not pick number 1. With the Odell Beckham trade, teams are going to stack the box, so I actually think that those were some good picks. But yeah, these also practices for some future best ball videos with a friend I've made on YouTube and Twitter. His name is Ballhawk Fantasy Football. We are planning to do a video within the next week, so please look out for that. I've also made other friends on YouTube named Gridiron Guru and a couple other people who have subscribed, and I would just encourage anyone to contact me if they wanted to set up one of these drafts. I'd be happy to have you, get you in on Discord. We can all practice together, build a fantasy football community, because that's really what this is all about. I'm all about liking everyone back on Twitter and just creating a positive thing for all the community. I just think that that's really important. So it is up to me. I really hope that this didn't just lag out, because I would really like to draft Le'Veon Bell and not start this video over. That is really unfortunate. I did just get right back and select Le'Veon Bell. Wow. Okay, so that's the first time that's ever happened to me. Wow, on the fly, just reloading and picking Le'Veon Bell. Okay, I guess you have to do that with drafts sometimes, unfortunately. I did take Le'Veon Bell over Tyreek Hill. I picked him first overall last year in a bunch of leagues over Gurley and got burned. Now he's going to be happy signing with the Jets. I think this value is tremendous that late in the draft. He's a generationally talented receiver out of the backfield. All these drafts are 0.5 PPR, and that's actually somebody that I wanted to highlight and talk about. So that's very good that I got a chance to draft him there. Obviously, Hill, Kelsey, Mixon, and Johnson went, so it's back to me again. And I really like these wide receiver names: Devontae Adams, Michael Thomas, Julio Jones. Not really a huge fan of Connor there. Odell Beckham, I know he's a Brown. Nick Chubb, so many good names. I'm actually going to take Devontae Adams. There should be a lot of positive momentum around the Packers with them getting a new coach. Aaron Rodgers should be really happy this year, and I just expect him to be one of the highest volume receivers. I actually would pick him second behind Hopkins. I think it's a huge year for Adams. I think that he's just a supremely talented receiver, and he's going to provide you with a really good floor, a bunch of targets, a lot of catches, even if he doesn't get that touchdown, but probably a touchdown. I mean, the dude's just a beast. I love Devontae Adams. I also wanted to mention, if we all didn't know, what is best ball in general? What am I doing right now? And it's a very popular form of season-long fantasy, especially over the past couple years. And it has a lot of very big differences, but it is similar. So obviously I'm drafting an 18-player team, but that's basically where the similarities end. There's no lineup setting, no waivers, and no trades. So the site is just going to play the best lineup based on how they perform weekly. And then at the end of the year, the points get added up and the top 3 people get paid out. So that's the huge difference between season long fantasy, normal, and draft or best ball drafts. So just wanted to point that out in case anyone was unfamiliar with that. We'll update the draft. Connor went, obviously. Michael Thomas, I really like him with that floor. Julio, a little bit lower on him based on how he was scoring the volume of touchdowns. Another year older. I'm not a huge fan, but I do not mind him there. Mahomes, don't mind him there either. I've mentioned, I think, another monster year, especially after that defense has just gotten weaker by a lot. I think that's been kind of an understated part of this offseason so far. Kind of too high for me on Kittle. I would not buy in on him there. I think that's really good for Nick Chubb. He's going to see no stacked boxes with Odell and company coming in. I think he's an every week RB1. 3rd round, pick 3. That's pretty darn good value. I like those values there in Odell Beckham Jr. and Juju. So it's back to me again. And Devonta Freeman, not a huge fan of him to stay healthy. Antonio, I love him, went. That's unfortunate. Evans, Thielen went. So it's up to me. I like these names at the top here. I really like Sony PlayStation. Ended the year really well. I think he's going to get pounded the rock his 2nd year for that Patriots offense. Another year of Gronk getting older, another year of Edelman getting older. Another year of Brady getting older. I still like them for another year, another run at that division and possibly a Super Bowl. But that being said, I think Michelle is going to see more of a role. Aaron Jones, another player I really love early on in this offseason. Like I said with Rodgers and Adams, I just expect the offense to be a little bit more explosive, them to be a lot happier, and I like Aaron Jones a lot. Cooper is a good pick. Not really sure about Cohen there, and I'm not very sure about Damian. I think it's a little bit too early. I think this value on Keenan Allen is a little bit too much to pass up. I like Fournette. AJ Green is also a good option, but Keenan Allen, I hope he could stay healthy. I never buy into Keenan Allen just because he's always going in like the 2nd round and he's an injury-prone player, but stayed healthy at the end of last year. When he's on the field, he just racks up targets. And even if Mike Williams were to, beast up in his 2nd season, score a lot more touchdowns, I just think that Keenan Allen will just be more open, be able to get his. Hopefully Gordon can stay healthy. Eckler, I like him in the later rounds. Hopefully I'll be able to pick him and talk about him. But I really like that value there at 4th. Like I said, he was being picked in like the 2nd round last year. Same with AJ Green. I'm not a huge fan of him, but in the 4th round, that's pretty good. Same with Leonard Fournette. 2nd round pick last year, going in the 4th round. It's like the opposite of Carry-On. I like him as a player, but I'm not really sure about him as opposed to AJ Green, Keenan Allen, and Leonard Fournette. I do like Damian Williams as the starter. I did want to mention I've been a lot lower on the Carlos Hyde signing than a lot of people have been in this offseason so far. I think his best case scenario is a 2-down red zone back, which granted would be very good in that Kansas City Chiefs offense. But that being said, I don't think he's going to get there. I think he's going to more or less spell Damian Williams, who's that playmaker who can break off a little bit of running. He's a lot more of a receiving threat. So, I'm not really sure about the 4th round, but I'm definitely down for Damian Williams. Hopefully, Hyde will look good at camp, and that will raise his value, so then I can feel a little bit better about Damian Williams. See, Andrew Luck in the 5th round after one good season of being hurt and a monster year. I'm not too down on it if you want to go there, but I'd rather take Aaron Rodgers. I think that that's good value if you wanted to take him in the 5th round. Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, those two guys going back to back. I think Kupp being hurt, those guys are going to get theirs. And the Gurley news, they might ride him less. So I do like those two players. Ingram signing for the Ravens, I do like that, and I do think he's going to be the unquestioned starter. I do buy into Derrick Henry a lot more than people. Marlon Mack, not so much. It's up to me again. I think I might take James White and do a little James White and Michelle. One of those guys is, I really like that, you know. I'm going to get one of those guys to go off, maybe both of those guys to go off in their consecutive weeks. Obviously, you can see your team roster over here. You can click on that and see your names. So, man, I really like this team right now. I got the Patriots backfield. I got Le'Veon, Devontae, and Keenan Allen. So, big fan of that. Edelman, like I mentioned, I do like him. I do think that he could be a top 12 wide receiver. His numbers extrapolated out last year without that suspension lead that to be. Philip Lindsay, that's pretty good value in the 5th round if he could hold on to that starting job and they just have Royce Freeman again next year. Maybe Freeman does well. I wouldn't be surprised, but 5th value considering what Lindsay did last year I think is pretty good. Ridley, think a little too high for me, and Godwin, but also could see them doing really well in that offense. Mike Williams, I mentioned, another name that I like in this offseason. I'm actually going to go ahead and take a Brown, somebody who I've mentioned and I really like before, Jarvis Landry. Like this says, you can see a little note here, draft provides that. Landry reunited with Odell Beckham. One thing that's most important, he'll hopefully be in the slot. As we know, he's one of the best slot receivers in the league. Hopefully not seeing their number one cornerback. He already has a rapport with Mayfield, whereas Odell sort of has to build one, which I'm not worried about. But that being said, I just like what Landry's going to do, especially in the 6th. And in a best ball league, those weeks where Odell's going off, then he's not going to probably be in my lineup. So the weeks where he does score a touchdown and get a lot of targets, he will be in my lineup. So, see, I'd rather take Penny than Carson, 1st round pick from last year for the Seahawks. So I would rather buy in a Penny, once again, a receiving threat. I'm not as big on Carson. OJ Howard, I really like. Ebron, don't mind. Definitely not very big on Evan Engram. I know he does well when Odell is out, but they did sign Tate this offseason, and you're expecting him to be healthy. He's been off and on injured, and yeah, they're just going to key on him more since they don't have to worry about Odell. So definitely not a huge fan of him. Definitely not a huge fan of Njoku. There's just so many mouths to feed, and I'm just not really sold on Njoku and his role on that team in general. Lamar Miller and Darius Geis, nice running backs there. Starters for their respective teams in the 7th round. Alshon, I really like him. Number 1 wide receiver for sure there with Foles. They just lost Tate, so that's good. So another thing I wanted to mention about draft, you must at least draft 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 flex. So a wide receiver, tight end, and a running back. That's very important. Corey Davis, I've mentioned. I really like him. That's a nice pick. Very good upside year 3 guy, number 1 wide receiver for that team. Obviously, you can see that this is a quick draft. Every team has a 30-second clock. But there's also a long draft option, which is, I think, 8 hours, which is nice if you don't have the time. You're at work. You could start a best ball draft now. Much later, finish it before the season. So that's also really nice there. So I do need to start thinking about quarterback, tight end. I have 3 running backs and 3 receivers. I am actually going to go ahead and take my boy, Baker Mayfield. I really like him. He's got all the weapons. The Browns have been a down and out team for so long. They're not going to let up. That division has lost a lot of players. Steelers with Bell and Brown. Baltimore on the defensive end, so I think that's up for the taking. Really like that DJ Moore pick, a name I've mentioned. Number 1 wide receiver. Decent amount of weapons around him. I really like him. Good player. Passes the eye test fast. He can break away and get open. Another nice thing about draft is you can make a draft with your buddies. So if we ever got enough people, we could just do our own draft and have fun together. And that's the more fun, the more people, always. So I love having everybody involved. And it would just be nice to always get some as many people and take out. Somebody will walk away with money, which is always nice. I don't know any of these people, so I hope to beat them, but it's always nice when people you know are the people walking away with money. Deshaun Watson, hopefully he stays healthy, not bad. I mentioned I really like Vance McDonald. A lot of targets leaving that offense with Bell, Brown. He's going to have to step into that role. You know, I guess I'd be watching a lot of Chargers if I paid a lot of attention to this team, but I think now, since I don't have a tight end, it is a good time to roll the dice a little bit on Hunter Henry. He came back in the playoffs, like it says, still not 100% at this stage, but 8th round, not bad value there. Like I said, I already have 3 running backs, 3 receivers, so fill out my roster. Got my Baker, got my Henry, and like this team so far a lot. Kenyon Drake is a name of a player that, so this with best ball, it's obviously a draft in NFL real life is still to go. I'm not sure where, offseason, where does he stand with Kalen Ballhawk, a possible player that they might pick? That's why a player like him, I think, is a lot more risky in a best ball draft really early right now. Sammy Watkins, a lot of Demetrius Harris leaving, Chris Conley leaving, a lot of they're going to need to depend on Watkins to stay healthy and play a lot more this year. Emmanuel Sanders, I do not like coming off an Achilles injury. I would not draft him there. Kareem Hunt, I think you're going to miss him for a considerable amount of season. But that being said, there is upside. Doug Baldwin, falling so far. Tyler Lockett was picked a lot earlier. I get the speed and everything, but you know, Doug Baldwin is Russell Wilson's guy, and especially at the end of the year, you're going to want him on your team. There he goes. Nice pick by him. LaShawn McCoy, another very risky player, but a lot of upside. Just predicting if he enters the year as Buffalo's number 1 running back at 9th round. An RB1, LaShawn McCoy, not bad. Not really buying into Larry Fitzgerald. Jordan Howard, another player who you'll see falling super far. We're just not sure. Tariq Cohen has a defined role on that team. We're not sure where free agency is going to end up. And the draft with Jordan Howard, he's sort of a replaceable runner, I suppose. So that's why you'll see him fall a lot in drafts. Will Fuller, I'm not sure I want to buy into him. See, this is nice. Got Baker Mayfield. So now, a 9th round Drew Brees. I will go with that all day. I expect the Saints to be a good team. Probably the best in that division. Drew Brees finished the year not so hot, but that's why I'm getting him in the 9th round. You're going to have to win start of the weeks too. Start of the year weeks too. And man, I like that value in the 9th round, especially going ahead with Baker. So once again, I've only done 2 of these drafts before, but the roster composition I've been seeing is around 2 to 3 quarterbacks, 4 to 6 running backs, 6 to 9 wide receivers, and 2 to 4 tight ends. So that's kind of what I'm working with here. Gronkowski, very nice, as I have Hunter Henry. This is a 10th round Gronkowski. Russell Wilson, not a bad name, although I do have 2 quarterbacks I've mentioned. Jared Cook, you know what? Gronk burned me last year, but and he's not signed, but a 10th round Gronk and I have Hunter Henry. I'm obviously going to take another tight end, but I think he's going to re-sign at least for 1 more year. Brady's going to come back. They just won a Super Bowl. I think he's got 1 more year at least. Cook, he's going to sign somewhere. I was contemplating him, but I just like the upside of Gronk a little bit more. Maybe he comes back, has 1 more monster. Royce Freeman is somebody that I'm very interested in buying into. Breida, another option. Obviously, Tevin Coleman just signing with the 49ers. Latavius Murray coming back, and they're supposedly really excited about giving him a chance. Obviously, the team is going to say that, but I do genuinely believe they did sign him for a reason, and he fits their team. So I'm definitely not very big on Breida at all, and I'm not surprised to see him falling. Goff chosen. Man, somebody's going to get a real nice Russell Wilson, supposedly and hopefully entering the season healthy. Scored, I believe, no rushing touchdowns in the regular season last year. Obviously, you see one, but I think that was the championship or the playoff game that they were in. But I believe he had no rushing touchdowns scoring, and I definitely expect that to obviously go up. Just heard all last year. Tyrell Williams signed with Oakland, number 2 receiver opposite Antonio Brown. That might be a very nice pick at the end of the 10th. Not a huge fan of Matt Ryan. A couple more names I really liked. Courtland Sutton, number 1 wide receiver for that Denver team. 11th round. You need a bunch of wide receivers. Obviously, I've mentioned apparently in best ball around 6 to 9. Some players are going to get hurt. It plays 3 wide receivers, so that spot is obviously going to rotate a lot, so I'm going to have to focus more. I really like Christian Kirk, a 2nd-year dude, another year. If they do decide to keep Rosen, that'd be another year with Rosen, but if Kyler Murray is really that good, then, that'd be an upgrade too. So I'm definitely buying into Christian Kirk. Name I'm interested in 4 picks or so. Really interested in Austin Eckler. Melvin Gordon, you never know if he's going to stay healthy. And even if he does, Eckler has sort of a carved out and defined role on that team. So he's sort of somebody I've been looking at. Just went. Ito Smith, another name I've seen, and somebody who if Devontae Freeman gets hurt, he could definitely have a role. So Kirk is there. Sutton went. I think I'd be more devastated if Kirk didn't make it back. Like I said, we need to play more wide receivers. So I'm going to take the Kirk pick. Just a guy for their future in Arizona. So he's going to play every single play. Not a huge fan of that offense or that team, obviously, but somebody's got to score there. So I'm down in the back end of the 11th round. Definitely not buying into Big Ben. Cam with the rushing floor. I think he's a good pick this late. Lamar Jackson, a name who I really like. Obviously just went. Where did he go? But he's a nice name to look at. That rushing floor, he's going to start the year as the unquestioned starter, leader of that team. Goddard, Jackson. So I really like Ito. To me, this is between Ito and Herndon. I also really like Herndon here, just because if Gronk doesn't come back, that would sort of stink. But I really like Ito. I like the value here. He's basically Tevin Coleman. He's the backup there. A lot of upside if Freeman gets hurt. A 12th round dart throw, even if Freeman stays healthy. Maybe they'll use him more as a receiver and Ito as. I just think that for sure he's going to see around 10 touches a game with upside. And I think that's pretty good value here when you're looking at names like Mike Davis, who's like the third running back in my opinion behind Penny and Carson. Gus Edwards. Ingram is, in my opinion, they paid somebody to come in. He's their starter. I think that they got a good value there with the contract. And I'm not really a fan of Edwards. Short guy, not really a pass catcher. They have a runner in Ingram, so I think Edwards is a guy who would just really see draft day stock go down. So I don't know about you guys. Once again, love to hear your opinion on any of these topics. Callaway could be wide open a lot, but then again, a lot of mouths to feed. Marquise Goodwin in the 13th round. That's a name I really like. Somebody's got to score in San Francisco. Their team sort of on the rise if Garoppolo can be healthy. 13th round for a number one wide receiver. He gets you speed and big plays. And this is best ball, so you can gamble on those guys who are going to have blow-up weeks and just take that last spot in your lineup. I mean, I'm not an expert, but that's pretty much when you have a big bench and an optimizer sort of algorithm, you can take those risks on these players. Christopher Herndon, a player I've mentioned, or my friend Gridiron Guru has mentioned in his YouTube videos, kind of changed my mind on him. And the New York Jets are going to need somebody besides Bell. He was very productive last year. I think somebody got a nice steal in Herndon. But that's sort of why I love this YouTube Twitter community. Not really change my mind on players, but definitely give advice. I always listen to it, and we help formulate each other's opinions, and we hopefully have winning fantasy football teams. Nyheim Hines, a player I'd buy into with kind of unsure about Mac. I do need to get some wide receivers, but I am actually going to take Mr. Tom Brady. 13th round, Mayfield, Breeze, and Brady. Quarterback is set with 3 of them. I'm just going to cross this off on my manual list. So 4 to 6 running backs. I'm at 4. 6 to 9 receivers. I need more. And I do need another tight end in case Gronk doesn't come back for Hollywood reasons. But I was mentioning I do like Nyheim Hines. Pass catcher, if Mac doesn't sort of do well, he could be a guy who sort of comes up on that team. Gallup, another year in that offense, did well at the end of the year. I do need wide receivers. Cooper is going to see their best player. Samuels, not as big of a fan. Zay Jones, not as big of a fan. Humphreys, just signing with the Titans. Anthony Miller, not a bad name. But I'm going to go ahead and take Gallup. Very high pick for them last year. Defined role on that team. Witten coming back, not really scaring me as much. A year off, he's going to be more of a blocker / rah-rah guy, I believe. So I think Gallup is going to be, even with the draft coming up and the end of free agency, I think he's a solid number 2. Funchess, just signing with Indianapolis. I'd rather buy into Hilton than Funchess, but not bad for the 14th round. Big guy. Maybe they look for him in the red zone. T.Y. obviously a small guy in their burner. So definitely like my team so far. Like I said, I got the quarterbacks. We got 4 more picks to go. So I'm definitely going to target one more tight end. Going to target one more receiver or two. And one more running back, I think. But Dion Lewis, he might be a guy worth buying into if Henry doesn't hit. I think that they're sort of locked into Lewis's contract. I'm not sure they'll be buying into somebody with the draft or the end of free agency. Anderson is somebody who I've really liked. He's not going to make it back to me, but with the Gurley news, 15th round, there you go. Somebody's listening to my stream, but my recorded video that they're really far away and obviously can't hear me. But no, I really like that pick. If Gurley does see a lot less time, maybe they do a duo backfield role just to keep Gurley healthy. I think the Rams are going to have a lot less of a blessed season in general. But that being said, like I said, 15th round, and if Gurley does get hurt, you have obviously a locked and loaded one. So I think it's worth. Trubisky, some big games out of him. Big year out of the Bears. Another season with that young team. Another season with the Khalil Mack trade. Whoa, Josh Gordon. I don't think he's playing. I hope that was an auto pick, but that's very interesting. Ballhawk, he might be worth buying into. Coin flip with him and Drake sort of situation. Probably a lot better for Drake. But Adam Humphries did make it back to me. And I think that that's pretty good value. I was contemplating him around before. Anthony Miller, another name that I like. But Humphries was signed to the Titans for a reason. And I think he's a good player. Produced as a number 3 last year for Tampa Bay. And I needed another wide receiver. So why the heck not? Let's look at our team once again. 3, 4, 6, and 2. Like I said, I need another tight end. Obviously, there's a tool with that. And I think I'm going to take Ian Thomas, a name I really like, if he makes it back around. Obviously, not too confident about Greg Olsen staying healthy, and even if he does, I would expect them to feature Ian Thomas more on that team. Ronald Jones, a name that I would really like. If you're not sold on Peyton Barber, not a huge fan of Ajayi. We don't even know where he's going to be. Always hurt. TJ Yeldon might not be a bad name. If you don't believe in Fournette, who's always injured and seemingly always letting people down. So hopefully, no Ian Thomas. He bought into Nick Foles, signing with the Jaguars. Don't blame him there, but I'm going to go ahead and scoop up Ian. Gronkowski, Ian Thomas, and Hunter Henry. Not bad. I think I'm pretty good on tight end. So I will probably be looking more towards another wide receiver and another running back. Hopefully those don't become too slim pickings. Dante Moncrief. I believe he just signed somewhere. I am going to take a look on my phone. It's also nice about being on the computer. You can sort of look on your phone at the same time, see on Twitter what just happened, who just signed where. So the Steelers, that's what I saw. The Steelers added Moncrief, and apparently he's going to compete, quote unquote, with James Washington. Not really buying into that. I would expect Washington to come away with that number 2 spot, and hopefully that team buys into somebody they spent a big draft pick on last year. I'd be much more into buying into Moncrief. Sorry. much more into buying into Washington than buying into Moncrief. Williams, not bad value. Number 2 running back. If Aaron Jones doesn't pan out or gets hurt, that's sort of the realm of the worlds we're thinking of here. Traquan Smith and Anthony Miller, pretty good values in the 16th round. Obviously, we're approaching the end. I mentioned before there are 18 total picks. This is really fun, though. I mean, obviously, I've been doing normal fantasy weekly for about 20 years now. Was a degenerate gambler at around 10. But that being said, it's obviously something I'm very passionate about and love. And this is really fun. I want to try this out for a season, get some input on it, become a better best ball, and just utilize that as another tool in my fantasy arsenal. These are just really fun drafts. If you're bored on a day off from work, just pop into one of these. They have $1 ones. They have them up to $50, I think. I'm sure they have more. I believe they have tournaments. They also do daily. So I'm having a lot of fun. This is my 3rd one. I really like my team. I've liked my other teams, but I honestly do think that this is my best top to bottom squad. And I just invite everybody to go ahead and take a crack at it. So I did mention I wanted to do a wide receiver or a running back. Obviously, these names aren't really hot at this point, so I think I might just take a stab at Geronimo Allison. He comes back, hopefully, to those Packers. Hopefully gets caught up in that ether and comes away in a universe where he has a really good season as their number 2 or 3 wide receiver. But obviously, Devontae Adams I have, so it's not bad to have another wide receiver in the Aaron Rodgers offense, especially this late, especially not knowing who's going to be what's going to be up, what's going to be down. Peterson, Geis coming back. Thompson, I expect to have a nice role. I'd rather take Thompson there than Peterson. I would expect the Browns to maybe move on from Duke Johnson and just trade him. So, I'm not a huge fan, or even if they don't, I'm not sure what... They might hold on to him, but when Kareem Hunt comes back, he's just not going to be there at the end of the year. So, Kenneth Dixon, a name I might be looking at. Elijah McGuire, competing for a backfield role behind Le'Veon Bell. Yeah, let's just go ahead and take McGuire. Screw it. Need one more running back. I have Le'Veon Bell. Hopefully I'll have his running back backup. With that being said, everyone, it was really fun. I hope everybody watches the video, leave some comments, give some advice, what I did wrong, what I did right. Today, I'm going to link the channels of my friends that I've mentioned before on YouTube. Hopefully, you'll give them a subscribe and a look as well. But it's been a pleasure, guys. I look forward to bringing you some content tomorrow, and talk to you then.